Hey guys, it's Manager Kylie, and in today's video, I'm going to explain to you the rules of Quidditch. Now you may be thinking, Quidditch, isn't that a mythical sport from the Harry Potter series? And yes it is, but it is also a sport that is competed at a college level, generally like a club sport level at colleges, and also internationally there is a US Quidditch league, so it is something that is competed by people in the world. It's not just a mythical game that you may think of from the Harry Potter series. The game of Quidditch is based on the one in Harry Potter, but it actually has some modifications to make it something that you can play with some friends or you can play competitively. But if you guys are interested in more sports administration videos just like this, definitely subscribe button, turn the bell so you get notified every time I upload it, as I post a new video every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to dive into the rules of Quidditch. So in Quidditch, the basic goal is to score more points than your opponent, and it is played on a field that is roughly 36 yards wide by 60 yards long. And at the end of each side of the field, there are 3 hoops. They're not exactly at the very end. You are able to run behind them, but they're near the ends of each side of the field, and each team has their own set of these 3 hoops. So to play the game, you need a minimum of 7 players. 6 of those players take the field at the beginning of the game, and that 7th player will join later. You are allowed up to 14 substitutions if you would like to have those on a bench as well. So those 7 players that you have on your team, there are 3 chasers, and these 3 chasers are wearing white headbands. You have 2 beaters, and they are wearing black headbands. You have 1 keeper that's wearing a green headband, and then 1 seeker that's wearing a yellow headband. The headbands just kind of tell you who everybody is while they're on the field and what role they are playing. And that seeker doesn't start out till the 18th minute. So you start with just the other 6, and then that seeker comes out at the 18th minute. Now, when players are actively on the field, they do have to have a broom between their legs. This is to mimic that they're flying on the broom. This sometimes is just like a piece of PVC pipe, but they have to have something like that through the middle of their legs. That means they're active on the field, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. So the role of those 3 chasers is to score most of the points. They are taking the quaffle, which is usually like a deflated volleyball, and they are passing it around or running up the field with it, trying to throw it through one of the 3 hoops on their opponent's side. So their opponent is guarding those 3 hoops, and they're trying to throw it through them. You are able to throw the quaffle through the hoops from either direction, so towards the end of the field or coming backwards. You're able to throw it through the hoops either direction, and every time you do throw it through the hoops, you do get 10 points for your team. There is only 1 quaffle on the field at a time, so everybody's trying to get that ball so they can score points. The keeper also has the ability to score points, but they are usually a defensive player, that they're the ones guarding those 3 rings, trying to make sure that nobody gets any points, so trying to stop their opponent from scoring points by throwing the quaffle through the rings. The keeper is also the only player that can't get tackled unless they are outside of their defensive zone. Once they kind of go outside of their defensive zone, they are able to get tackled, but if they stay inside their defensive zone, they are not able to get tackled. And getting tackled, similar to like a rugby sport, you're just trying to get the quaffle for your team. So you're going to go and tackle the other chasers to try to get the quaffle for your team. And that's kind of where the beaters come in. So the beaters, you have 2 beaters on your team. So the beaters, their job is to try to knock the other team kind of off their brooms. So what they're doing is they're throwing bludgers, which are single colored dodge balls, at the other team. If one of the chasers or anybody gets hit by these bludgers, they have to dismount from their broom, so that kind of shows that they're inactive. They have to go back to their home rings, so the rings that they are defending, touch those rings, and then they can come back in. They can touch any of the 3 rings, and then they're able to resume play. So this kind of makes you almost inactive. The other thing you would have to do if you are a chaser and you're holding the ball at the time, you have to drop the quaffle if you're holding it, or any ball you're holding at all, you have to drop it if you get hit with one of the bludgers. So it is a way to try to get the ball from your opponent. The beaters, however, are not allowed to touch or interfere with the quaffle. Only the chasers or the keeper are allowed to touch the quaffle, and vice versa, the chasers and keepers can't play with the bludgers. Now for the golden snitch and the seekers. So you may know about Harry Potter, there is a golden snitch, but that flies around. So how are you going to have that in a game when we have no ability to have a ball flying around? Well, somebody that is a neutral party dresses up in all yellow and they are the snitch. And then they also have a sock with a little ball in it and they have that attached to them. So what the goal of the seekers is to grab that sock with the little ball in it. It's usually yellow, but that golden snitch is dressed up in all yellow. They don't play for either team and they are running around. They come in at the 17th minute and they are running around not just on the field, but in the entire area around where the field is. So if there's stands, anything like that, they can run around that entire area. And their goal is to not get grabbed or caught by either one of the team seekers. In the 18th minute, the two seekers come in. So they have about a minute for the snitch to kind of run around. And then once the two seekers come in, their goal is to try to grab that sock and ball from the snitch. So once they do grab that from the snitch, that gets their team 30 points and the game is automatically over. So any points that you gain by scoring with the quaffle, you add that 30 points from getting the golden snitch, and then the game is over. The team with the most points does win. One other thing is ties. In some leagues, you might play a little bit of extra overtime if there is a tie, and then some leagues do end in a tie. It kind of depends on what rules you're playing with. So substitutions, like I mentioned before, you can have 14 subs. So these people are not mounted on brooms. To sub in, the person on the field has to come off and then you are able to enter on the field. So you have to be disactivated and not be on a broom if you're on the sidelines, and then when somebody comes off, then you're able to go on and sub for them. You are also able to switch positions. So while two players are active on the field, so which means they have the brooms between their legs, you are able to switch positions and change what color headband you have, but you both have to be active when you do that. There are fouls in this game, so if you commit any wrongdoings, there are referees in this game as well, and they're kind of watching to see if there's any wrongdoings, but if there's any sort of wrongdoing, you may end up with some sort of foul. This could be as small as a back to hoops foul, which means you just have to go reset, go back to your hoops, retouch your hoops to be active again. You could get a yellow card, which means you have to sit out for a minute and then re-enter the game, or you could get a red card, which means you're ejected. Both with the yellow card and the red card, if you get either one of those, either for just the short time or for the whole time, if you get ejected, your team does have to play down a person. The other thing to note is some leagues do play with a blue card. So the really difference between a blue card and a yellow card is if you get two yellow cards, that equals a red card and you're ejected from the game. But if you get multiple blue cards, they don't add up, but they still have that 1 minute penalty with them. There also sometimes would be an advantage called, and what this is the ref feels like it'd be too much of an advantage to call a foul depending on the situation. So they might just hold their hand up in the air, call an advantage, and then just allow play to resume without calling a foul, just because a foul would cause too much of an advantage to one side. And then finally, each team does have a speaking captain. So the role of the speaking captain is to talk to the refs if there's any questionable calls or anything, wanting clarification on which player is which. They're able to speak to the refs. They're the only person on the team that is able to speak to the refs. So that's kind of the game of Quidditch. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoy watching it in Harry Potter, you might enjoy playing it as well. I know there's tons of colleges, especially some of the big size schools that have teams. So definitely be on the lookout for that if you're interested in trying it out. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you, again, have any videos you'd like to see on my channel, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.